Maladjusted Misfits.
Hello, I'm Adam.
And I'm Joe. Now, we practiced. You ready?
We practiced. We're going to get it in unison.
All right, here we go. And we're
Maladjusted.
No.
I didn't even say the word right.
No.
Maladjusted Misfits.
Stop. We're the Maladjusted Misfits.
And this is the one where we talk about friends.
Episode 2.
The title is...
The one with a sonogram at the end.
That's right.
Directed by James Burrow. This is his second episode out of the 15 that he directed for Friends.
Mm-hmm.
And then I, thought since he directed 15, I'd bring up something about him every time we talk about him. So.
Okay.
He also directed 237 episodes of Cheers.
Oh my goodness, that is a lot of Cheers episodes.
That is.
That was his primary.
Yeah, bread and butter.
That is a lot of episodes. I just want to mention one thing about him real quick. We'll get back to it on the episode.
Okay.
But he's actually the director of Joey and the Butt Scene.
Butt guy, what are you doing?
Yeah, that's him. That's James Burrows.
That's funny. Written again by David Crane and Marta Kaufman. Mm-hmm. You going to tell us what the plot is of this episode?
The plot on IMDb. Ross finds out his ex-wife is pregnant. Rachel returns her engagement ring to Barry. Monica becomes stressed when her and Ross's parents come to visit.
Original air date, September 29th, 1994. Are you ready for some trivia?
I am ready.
All right. This is the first episode for the reference of the ugly naked guy. This is the first time they mention him. Episode 2. So Gunther makes his first appearance in the background.
I did see Gunther.
Central Perk. James Michael Tyler, is that his name? Yes. So in interviews with him, he said he was hired because he was the only one who knew how to realistically work the espresso machine in the cafe.
Oh, that's how he got the job, huh?
Yeah. So he doesn't have any lines yet. He was there.
And sadly, he's passed.
Yeah, he has passed. He passed right after the special that they did.
Yeah.
So. Chandler does his first Could I Be Any More Amused? I love those. It's the first episode where clips are shown during the fountain scene to help us. So the reason they did that, they showed the full fountain scene because it was a pilot episode. And they thought they would add clips from episodes even though they just started.
Right.
Because it would help us to get to know the friends better.
Right. And it's fun because in this one, you see clips that haven't been shown yet.
Yeah, exactly. And not Carol is in this episode because she was offered a role in the Jeff Foxworthy show. And that is why she left Friends. And I have nothing to say after that.
Yeah, I don't really know anything about the Jeff Foxworthy show.
So I hope it worked out for her.
Yes.
I never saw it.
And we will constantly refer to... I started the thing where I call her not Carol.
Right.
Because...
she's not the Carol.
Yeah, she's not the Carol that I've come to know and love. Nothing against the actress.
Yes.
But, that's how I feel.
Yes. All right, so Adam, what were your reactions to this episode?
Oh, this episode, the pacing was a little slower, a little calmer than the pilot episode. Again, the pilot, they feel like they have to jam-pack it with everything.
Yep.
This one, you kind of slow it down, and, they're not quite squeezing as much into it. They established the characters, and now they're focusing more on the storylines. It's still mostly Ross and Rachel during this episode. But, the others get more to do eventually, obviously.
I mean, now that you mention it, I feel like it's a lot about Ross and Rachel. And I wonder if that was intentional. Like, there's 3 main characters, Rachel, Ross, and Monica, and then 3 side characters, Joey, Phoebe, and Chandler. But then as time goes on, it evolves and they all...
I think that Ross and Rachel were the main storyline they had going into it. Like Cheers, we just mentioned Cheers,
Salmon.
and Moonlighting and stuff like
Yeah.
that kind of played the will they, won't they. But I think they, Ross and Rachel, they were really focused on these two characters kind of just having decimated their relationships.
Are destined to be together.
Right.
I think, too, that I resonate with this show or got attracted to the show because in our 20s, we had a group of friends that came over to our house all the time.
Right. Yeah, we did.
And we'd either sit around and watch movies or we'd sit around and play games or we'd sit around and talk like these guys do.
Right.
We didn't have a coffee shop we went to. It was kind of iced tea in our house. So.
Right. Yeah, we're the kids who, were college age and had a house for some reason.
Because we got married when we were 21.
Right.
All right. My favorite line of the episode is when Monica's cleaning and she's like, "Whose balled up piece of paper is this?" And he goes, "I wrote a note to myself and then I didn't need it, so I balled it up and now I wish I was dead."
My favorite line from this episode is Judy Pickles. What's her? Russ Geller's mom.
Yeah. What is her name? Judy.
Judy. Yeah. Is her real name Judy?
Christine Pickles.
Christine Pickles. I mixed them.
Yeah.
So it's when Ross comes clean about Carol and what's going on, and she's pregnant, and
Right.
she turns around and goes, "And you knew about this?"
Like it's all Monica's fault. My favorite moment was when Phoebe's telling Monica that she already fluffed that pillow, and then she gives her a look and she goes, "It's fine, it's fine."
My favorite moment, I really like the Ross coming clean to his parents, but I'm gonna go with the cuteness factor and do the.
You're going with the cuteness factor?
Yes, I'm gonna go with the cuteness factor of the maladjusted trio holding hands during the sonogram at the end.
Favorite outfit? I mean, I really didn't like Monica's white vest. That annoyed me. I think I like Susan's outfit the most. Like, it was cute for that time. It was a very 90s outfit.
Right.
But I do like the colors of Phoebe's outfit when they were searching the lasagna. It was like that really bright purple shirt,
Right.
but it was just a t-shirt. So I was
Right.
like, I got to find something else. So.
Right. I think my favorite outfit is Rachel's overalls. I love overalls. I don't know why.
You must have a farm girl fetish. It's too bad that I look like a lumberjack in overalls.
You do not look like a lumberjack. It's not a farm girl fit. It's like the artsy girl
Oh,
thing.
okay.
It's like if anybody was in overalls, like a girl painting
Yeah.
or playing the cello.
Oh,
Those
geez.
are all triggers for me.
And I don't do either one of those. Sorry, man.
Dramatic line reading from episode 2. Don't listen to your mother. You're independent and you always have been. Even when you were a kid and you were chubby and you had no friends, you were just fine. And you would read alone in your room and your puzzles. Look, there are people like Ross who need to shoot for the stars. With his museum and his papers getting published, other people are satisfied staying with where they are. I'm telling you, these are the people that never get cancer. And I read about these women trying to have it all, and I think, God, our little harmonica doesn't seem to have that problem.
So we open the cold open Central Park, all 6 friends, and they're talking about kissing. It's an important part of sex, obviously. That's what the topic is.
Right, they're talking about, right, sex.
Yeah.
They're kissing being an important part of that dynamic.
Yes, and you focused a lot on the background guy.
Right, there's a guy who's like in the first couple episodes, like he shows up in this episode and he's definitely in the next episode. And it's a background guy at the counter and he's like doing a little drums and talking to Gunther and doing a little finger action, and then he blows on his coffee cup like it's a bowl of soup.
So the guys say, for guys, kissing is the opening act. And they want, then when Pink Floyd comes out,
Right, that's why they bought the ticket.
That's right.
That's why they're there for this show. I've never been to a concert where they've had a comedian.
No. Not a musical concert.
Yeah, we've been to our fair share of rock concerts. Not once have I ever seen a comedian.
No.
I don't know if I'm not a typical guy or if they're trying to make them too, very guy for the purpose of this conversation. I don't mind kissing and cuddling.
Yeah.
What I was thinking of was one of the last concerts we went to was Weezer, and the Pixies opened.
Yeah.
Now,
that was a good show.
I like Weezer, but I went for the Pixies.
Right.
And I wouldn't mind if the Pixies would have come back and played a couple songs after Weezer finished. I would have been perfectly happy with that.
But you also wouldn't mind if Weezer came back either.
Right.
Maybe we lost track of the metaphor along the way.
I don't know.
I like how Chandler talks about Pink Floyd and the comedian. Like, he's had a lot of sex because they set it up that he's like the least, the person that has had the least amount of sex in all of the Friends.
Right. Well, I don't think they've quite established that yet. I know they have, Chandler's broad things kind of mapped out, but I'm not sure they knew where they're going with this character yet. Like, again, I think they had a definite trajectory for Ross and Rachel. And so I think they were still feeling out some of the... So I don't think they quite landed on it yet, that Chandler's lacking in that area.
And then Joey says, are we still talking about sex? And I think he says that again later in episodes. I'm going to track that because I think they use a lot of metaphors about sex a lot throughout the series. And I think Joey...
He checks in a lot to make sure...
just to make sure we're still on the topic of sex.
Right. And a sweater vest count.
Number 1.
The number 1 for the episode.
Right. In the cold open.
Yep.
All right.
That might be the only one we get this episode.
Oh, okay. And then the first scene is in the Museum of Prehistoric History. Ross and Marcia are arguing about the cave people.
Yes.
Because Marcia says she looks angry.
Well, Ross says she looks angry.
Oh, yeah, why?
And I don't know. I mean, it's a cave. I think they all just naturally look angry.
What do they have to smile about?
I'm a fucking caveman. But Marcia's definitely bringing a lot of her own baggage to the diorama that she's...
The mastodon smell. And then Not Carol arrives and has news. She's pregnant.
She's pregnant.
And then they hug, and then Ross asks her, how's her family? And she says Marty's still paranoid.
Right, that's at the beginning of the conversation.
Yeah, so what does Marty have to be paranoid about?
I don't know. I think that's just kind of trying to establish that other stuff going on. And like her dad's not Marty. I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird. And then she tells him he's pregnant, and this is my least favorite in the episode. This is when Ross does that stupid little caveman stance with his hand.
Right. It's
just like so forced. It's nobody would naturally stand like that, and it annoys me.
well, I'm going to make a very broad statement, and this doesn't count for everything. But I think of sitcom, the 3-camera setup, live studio audience sitcoms are an extension of community theater.
Oh. So you have to overact to...
Right. So, I think, they try to incorporate sight gags. He was probably standing there, so they're probably like, oh, this would kill in Chicago, in my theater troupe.
Chicago.
Because Schwimmer had a theater troupe. I think it was in Chicago. I think that's where he's from. But it really reminds me of that kind of thing.
So you think there's a lot of sight gags because of that?
Well, that kind of sight gag. There's a lot of, I'm not dissing community theater. I've been in community theater productions. but it definitely seems like that kind of thing to me.
Yeah. Then we go to Monica's apartment. So Monica, Phoebe, Chandler, and Joey, they're watching Three's Company. And then it's the one with the misunderstanding, and Phoebe goes, "Oh, I've already seen this one," and turns off the TV.
And that's kind of how I react to a lot of sitcoms. I mean, I like there's a lot that I like, but there's definitely a lot of sitcoms that I'm just like, no thanks, bye bye.
Well, most times, like, we've already established that I really like Friends more than you, or watch it more than you. And there are some times when the laugh track really bothers you, or the live studio audience laughing.
Yeah.
That really bothers you.
I'm definitely like, I enjoy like The Office and Parks and Rec and Brooklyn Nine-Nine, where they got away from that studio audience vibe. I think again, it's because I watch more movies. I'm more of a movie cinematic kind of person.
That would be funny if people started laughing at movies.
But like, it's funny because like I was trying to think of Friends as a movie once, like, and it's hard to translate. If you were gonna take the script how it is and shoot it like a movie, it'd be completely different.
There's a couple, and I'll bring them up when we talk about them as we go on, but there's a couple scenes where they had to shoot it without the live studio audience because they reacted so like enthusiastically or so loudly that they couldn't get through the scene, so they had to like, okay, we're gonna have to
And again, they've talked about how when they're shooting the song, like, is this, they have, I think it's the next episode where they have stuff shot on the back lot.
Oh, yeah.
On the street.
Yeah.
And they've always said when they shoot stuff like that, they're always off their game because they're used to playing off the audience like that. Yeah. And again, it's just a completely different dynamic.
So Monica's first cleaning frenzy. We see her OCD because her parents are coming. And Monica cleaning is definitely how I clean when people are coming over. Not for my parents, because, you know, they'd have to actually come visit for me to clean.
Ouch.
I think they've been to our house once since we moved here. So, and then I noticed that Joey's hair is now floppy and greasy.
He's got the killer combo.
I don't know what he's doing. I don't like it. And then she talks about how Ross's parents favor Ross. Did your mom have a favorite?
I don't think that my mom had a favorite, but
she
definitely treated us differently. Like my sister, I think my sister is a little more high maintenance than I am.
Oh, yeah.
So like at bedtime, she'd take a half hour singing to her, talking to her about her day, blah, 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 good night, turn off the light, and then she'd be like, night, Adam. And I don't think that it was anything to do with me.
Yeah.
It was...
I don't need that.
Right.
Yeah.
It was the dynamic of us. So...
My parents definitely had a favorite. It was not me. That's all I'm going to say. It is definitely not me.
Well, I didn't help.
No. And there's no reason because never mind. Anyway, Chandler says, ugly naked guy got a thigh master. And I thought this was really funny because they were watching Three's Company.
Oh.
And ugly naked guy has a thigh master. And Suzanne Summers is the spokesperson for the thigh master. Right. And I wondered if they tied that in for a reason or if it was just coincidental.
Right.
But that was funny.
They were already thinking Suzanne Summers and just thought thigh master without even consciously being aware of it.
Ooh, naked guy with a thigh master. It's got that big spring in the middle.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oof. All right. Then Rachel enters from the bedroom upset because she has to return Barry's ring, and she lost the ring.
Right. And so last week the watch was on the living room floor. This week she's tearing the living room apart looking for the engagement. Why did they keep their jewelry on the living room floor?
I don't know.
That's not a good place for it.
Plus, later in like a future episode, Monica's they borrowed Monica's earrings, and they're looking on the floor for those too. They're under the couch. I don't know. And then she realizes that she lost the ring inside the lasagna that she helped.
And again, this is something that's going to come back.
Yep.
Somebody loses a fingernail and something
Yep.
later.
Yep.
But all I can think of is that's a very thin and burnt looking lasagna. I think she lucked out.
What is the layers in that? I mean, mine's always bubbling over and reach the top and the cheese is melty and I don't know.
This is a sitcom problem that I feel like if they had somebody thinking, they do it later when it's the quiches, then they have like 12 quiches or whatever that they ruin. I'm just like, grit off the lasagna like a crime scene. Look in one section at a time. You might not have to throw the whole thing away. Right. You might just be able to
throw
get
one a piece. Yeah.
Right. You might get lucky and it's in the first bit, and then you can serve the rest of it.
It's very methodical, Adam. I'm glad you thought of that. I like when Chandler goes, "Boys, we're going in," and Phoebe takes off her rings before she digs into the lasagna because she's like, "I'm not losing my ring in there."
If I lose a bunch of rings, oh my god!
I just thought that was so funny. And then Ross knocks.
Hi.
Yeah, and he tells Monica that Carol's pregnant. I like Monica's reaction and what? How? And then Ross's reaction. Yeah, do that for another 2 hours. You might be where I am.
So it was at this point in the episode, I remember, again, one of the reasons I think it's fun to do this podcast, going back and talking about them, is bringing back references from later shows. You know, I remember Ross said something much later, like, Carol and I were very good at the sex until she found out she was a lesbian, and then once after.
So that's the one.
That must have been the one where she got pregnant.
Because they say ex-wife, like he's already gone through the divorce and stuff. Like,
right.
You know, it's been a while. So, wow.
Right. It must have been right before.
Yeah. So, he tells them they're going to a sonogram tomorrow. And I had to look this up, okay? Because our kids are adopted.
Yes.
So I have no experience in this realm of sonograms
we
or
never
babies.
saw sonograms.
No.
We don't have personal experience
but
with
I've
that.
never heard, I mean, I've heard the term sonogram, but most people say I'm going to get an ultrasound.
Right.
So I had to look it up because I was like, what's the difference? So if you wanted to know, ultrasound is the tool that's used to produce the sonogram.
Oh, the
which
photo.
Is the picture.
Oh, got it.
Or the recording.
Got it.
So, yeah. So they're going for an ultrasound to get a sonogram.
Right.
I just thought that was interesting. So, and then we hear Joey very loudly eating the ruined lasagna. I was like, what the hell is he doing?
Well, it's so dry and burnt that it's making those sounds.
I guess. And then we go into scene 3, Monica's apartment. Monica, Ross, Jack, and Judy.
Right. And again, it's funny to see episode 2, you know.
Right off the bat.
Right. Elliot Gould is right there on top of it. Like, again, I'm a movie guy. And, you know, I mean, Elliot Gould was a movie star a while ago.
Yeah.
He's still in a lot of things today. But he was like the star of movies in the 70s. So, you know, at that point, I remember seeing Friends and being like, what the fuck is Elliot Gould doing on this show?
Come on. You can't have good people in
Again,
Friends.
it came out when I wasn't in TV mode.
Yeah.
You know, in the early 90s, I was full on movie mode.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're watching any TV at this point.
Well, because think about, too, we couldn't do like we do now. We couldn't go, oh, I'll just watch Thursday's episode on Saturday because they had cable, but you couldn't.
Right. Like the only TV show that I knew what time and day it was on was
Moonlighting.
Well, no. Oh. Again, that was in the 80s.
Yeah, sorry.
At this point, it was The Simpsons.
Oh, okay.
That was the only show that and it had been on for years at this point. Yeah, I mean, sitcoms weren't even on our radar, really, at this point in our lives.
And we didn't really know Christina Pickles from anything else, although you just started watching St. Elsewhere for something to watch.
Right.
And she popped up in that. She's in St. Elsewhere as a nurse. And For all you youngins, that is a TV show that was before Grey's Anatomy or ER. So
Right.
it was kind of like the predecessor of hospital shows.
Right.
And she was in it.
I'm sure it wasn't the first, and I'm
I'm
sure
sure.
it won't
Yeah,
be.
I'm sure. And then Monica's mom says, "What is this curry tasting thing?"
And I feel like Harmonica would know if her mom liked
Harmonica.
curry or not. Like, if you made me curry, you'd be like... And I was like, what tastes like curry? You'd be like, the curry.
Right.
Because I don't eat a lot of curry.
Right. Again, I had to look this up because I thought curry was a dish. So I thought curry was like a dish served over rice. Like that was its official name. And it is a dish, but it's made from curry leaves, which is crushed into curry powder.
Mm-hmm.
And like garlic powder, I guess, you can add it to anything. So if you
Right.
added it to like whatever she did for that appetizer,
Right.
it would not be curry, but it would be curry tasting.
Right.
So interesting.
So send your curry recipes to Joe at the Maladjusted Misfits.
I've had curry. I don't like spicy things, but and then Judy says, "Oh, they all had a thing for Ross. I never had a thing for Ross."
You don't like the Schwims?
No.
You don't like
I mean, he seems like a nice guy personally, but like the character Ross Peart, like I think he would hang out and be my friend, but I would not be attracted to him in any way.
So you're more like a Phoebe.
Yeah, I like the cross between Phoebe and Chandler. Those are my people. I'm hanging out with them. And then someone's daughter is calling Monica for something about food. My mom does this to me all the time. She volunteers me to talk to someone about something. It's usually someone from her church. It's usually something stupid. And I usually make some sort of excuse as why I cannot talk to them.
It seems like a very grandma thing to do.
Right,
like,
right.
Remember that kid who you used to play with when you were little?
They have an HR problem. Really? You want me to talk? And then Monica says she doesn't mean to be selfish, but she asks him to bring up the baby lesbian thing.
Right.
But then they jump to dinner, so he obviously didn't. And
spaghetti, that's easy.
Yeah, that's good.
I like her mom always has the digs.
Yeah.
Like the one episode where she's like, you can let some of them go by.
Right, you can let someone go. And then there's that. At least she had a chance to leave a man at the altar.
It's a saying. People say that.
And then he says, I don't know. I don't want to tell you what they spent on that wedding, but $40,000 is a lot. And so I looked that up too, because in 1994, $40,000 for a wedding. So today, by today's inflation prices, it would be almost double. It's $83,000. That's a lot for a wedding.
Yeah.
A lot.
Oof.
And then
too much. Our wedding didn't cost that much.
No, not even close. And then Jack goes into the whole diatribe about Monica, being chubby. It's the first mention of Monica's weight, and you were chubby and you had no friends. Like, ouch.
I just love that whole little thing. It's just so funny.
Like, you don't have to be the best.
It's just the way he says it.
Yeah.
He says it in such a, it's great that you don't have to deal with this.
Right.
It's great.
It's great that you're not pretty.
It's great that you don't have any friends.
Right. And then my favorite part in this scene is when Monica rests her elbow on Ross's flat palm on the table and kind of digs it in.
Right.
Like, that's a very
reminds me of my sister.
Yeah.
Yep.
Except it was her nails, right? She would dig her nails into
Well,
your arm.
yeah, I'm sure she would have been more subtle about it at that point.
And then he does. He tells her that Carol is a lesbian and that she's pregnant with his baby and that Susan and Carol are going to keep the baby and raise it. And there's your favorite line.
Yeah. And you knew about it. That's just so funny to me.
So
just,
accusatory.
Just completely her refocus, off of Ross onto Monica.
Right.
I can't be mad at Ross.
So then they're in Central Park, probably later that night, because Monica and Ross still have the same clothes on, and all 6 friends are there. Their parents are upset about the baby Ross situation. And he says, they're pros. Right. They get the job done.
Yeah. I do like his line delivery there. It's pretty funny.
And if you could choose your parents, I'd want yours. I think that's funny.
I just like that idea that when you're writing, exploring characters and having them behave differently toward different people. Like, I like that they're the same people, but they treat Ross and Rachel completely different.
Ross and Monica.
Oh, shit.
Sorry.
Ross and Monica. But it reminds me of, like, I bring this up all the time. One of my favorite instances of this is Andy in Parks and Rec.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I love that Andy Dwyer is horrible with Anne.
Boyfriend. Yeah.
With Ann Perkins.
Yeah.
He doesn't change at all.
No.
He doesn't turn into a different person or become more responsible.
No.
He just gets involved with April Ludgate.
Right.
And they're perfect together.
Right. They're a match. Yeah.
And I just love that, like, sometimes people just aren't right for you. Sometimes people behave differently, around other people. Sometimes, I love characterizations like that. It's fun.
And this is where we learn that Phoebe is a twin.
That Ursula only exists because of Mad About You, the TV show.
Yeah, so I looked it up. Phoebe reveals that she's an identical twin sister who is a waitress. And it is revealed later in 1995 episode that the sister is Ursula, a character on the hit TV show Mad About You since 1993. And after they submitted the Friends pilot to NBC, the producers learned that the show would air on Thursday nights directly after Mad About You. Mm-hmm. So Mad About You and then Friends.
Right.
And they felt the audience needed an explanation for Kudrow's appearance in both shows set in New York City. So although most audiences would know that these are only television shows and don't really need an explanation, they felt it was necessary to say that she had a twin sister waitress whose name was Ursula and was on Mad About You. And then, they'll do a throwback to that later because the Mad About You characters come to Central Perk.
Yes, they do.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if they were like, oh, it'd be fun if you were twins. Since you're already on that show. So as a producer's note, or a NBC thing, we're not sure people are going to understand.
Right. We're afraid they might get confused.
Wow.
So then Chandler explains, because Monica asked him if his parents, because he's an only child, Chandler says he had an imaginary friend that his parents preferred. And this, just is the sad story that is Chandler's life. It just gets worse and
Every
worse.
story is so messed
fine,
up.
You win. And then everybody leaves, but Ross went into the bathroom.
Right.
And he was like, how long was
Must
I in there?
pee.
Yeah, that was weird.
It's so weird. I'm going to start using that when I have
Must pee.
Must pee.
And then Ross asks Rachel if she needs any help. And then he takes the broom and she sits down and rests.
Right. Who else would do that? Only Rachel.
But the only thing I noticed in this is, like, where is he sweeping to? Because usually when you sweep, it's a pile to pick up. And he's just, like, chimney sweeping.
Well, he's like, she's sitting on the couch. She don't know. He's sweeping the coffee table and the chair.
Yeah, it's weird. And then she tells him to steer clear of or Ross tells her to steer clear of the word dumped when she talks to Barry tomorrow.
And I do think it's cute that Rachel's worried about Barry.
Yeah. And I do like the line where Ross goes, I'll take Barry and you take Carol and Susan at the OBGYN. It just trails on. It's like 16 ends afterwards. And then Rachel talks about, when you were in high school, don't you think you'd meet someone, fall in love, and that would be it?
I don't know.
You don't know.
Well, I was trying to think back that, like, in high school, I mean, we met and fell in love, but it wasn't like, oh, and now everything's perfectly cool and everything's easy now.
Right.
I don't know.
The dating part was done. That was fine, but life still happens.
Right.
Jobs and moves and adopting. For better or worse, whatever. I didn't say anything. And then Rachel rests her head on Ross's hand. And then I wrote, boing. This, I would totally like that. Ross is like,
Right. I can't move from behind the couch now.
you're right. I have to sit down and sit here for a few minutes because you know why. So then we go to the doctor's office with Carol, Ross, and Susan. So it's just Carol and Ross at first. And then Susan comes in. The doctor is a woman.
Twist.
Oh, because they're feminists.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I've never been to an OBGYN. I would imagine it'd be better if it were a woman.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, my first time, it's a weird story, but basically my mom never took me. She never talked about anything like that. So I was 18 and I was still dating you. I mean, obviously we started when we were 16 and I was like, I should probably go to the OBGYN.
Right.
See what this is all about. Get on that pill. And it was a guy. It was an old guy.
Ugh.
Yeah. And so, of course, I'm nervous and I'm 18, never been before. And there was a nurse in there. But the first thing he says when my legs are up in the stirrup and his head is between my legs is, don't ring my bell. Meaning, don't close my legs on his head. And I was just like, so horrified by that. I never went back to that guy. I went immediately found a female OBGYN. I was like, fuck you, man. Not cool.
Gross.
I also noticed Ross is wearing a vest, not a sweater vest, but all I could think about is he looks like a character from Fiddler on the Roof. His vest is like, he could break into song right now. Which is really funny.
And Susan looks very cute in comparison, so you can understand the Carol's choice between the two.
Right. And then, does the OBGYN have juice boxes? Like, I've never, of course, I haven't been there when I'm pregnant. Maybe they cater to you more when you're pregnant. Here, have a juice box. And then Ross uncomfortably plays with the vaginal tools.
Quack, 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 quack.
The Kara goes, that opens my cervix, and he immediately drops it. And so I always wondered, do you think he knows what the cervix is? Or is it that it just sounds weird enough that you need a tool to open it, so he drops it out of horror? Like,
well, I mean, I know he's not a medical doctor, but he's
probably
he's a doctor. So
yeah,
I mean, I know it's the canal that connects to the uterus.
Oh, good job. And it does need opened.
Yes. If you want to look in there, you need a tool to open it up.
Okay. Moving on from the cervix. We go to the dentist's office. So there's Barry and Rachel and Robbie, the little patient. He's cute. I like him.
Right. I like Robbie, and he shows up again.
Yeah, I think he does later on.
He's the same kid, and Barry's orthodontist, but he plays Bobby later.
Oh, really? That's funny.
He's not Robbie.
Maybe he got older and was like, you know what? I don't want to go by Robbie. I want to be older. I want to be Bobby.
Or he was on a different show on NBC at the time.
And they were like, wait. His twin came to the dentist.
Right.
And then you like when he says Robbie will be here for hours.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. And I wouldn't like it if I was at the dentist and he started getting visitors.
Yeah, that would be weird.
I'd be like, oh, come on, man.
It's very awkward. Plus, okay, so the OBGYN's office and this orthodontist office where they're doing those are huge offices.
Right.
I have never been to either one of those.
Where it's been
yeah, where you could have multiple people standing in the room talking, and it's just really weird.
Would be funny if it would be
Yeah.
at their office if her ex would have come in and been breaking up with her.
The doctor.
During their
Oh my
thing.
God, that's crazy. And then we go back to the OBGYN office, Carol, Ross, and Susan. Ross continues to knock more shit over.
More babies.
Babies are not shit. And then he asks, how's this going to work? And then Carol kind of like rudely goes, give me a for instance. Like,
we're raising a child together?
Yeah. Did they seriously not think about it? Like, Like, give me an instance where you might have to be involved in the decision making. Maybe because it's my kid.
So okay, I'm gonna say something. I think I have it later in my notes, but I'm gonna mention it now.
Okay.
I think the way that Carol and Susan look at each other, I get the impression like Susan was kind of like, "Do we have to tell him?"
Oh, like they weren't gonna say anything.
Right. Well, because they were already divorced.
Wow.
and like Carol just decided at the last minute, it's his kid.
Yeah.
I need to tell him.
Wow.
So I feel like they've talked about a bunch of the shit already. Like, again, the names and everything.
Yeah.
And then she was kind of like,
You should probably tell him.
I need to tell him.
Wow. That's harsh. I mean, no disrespect to Susan at all, because it is a relationship and she's going to be the one helping raise this baby. So I have no disrespect that, yes, she has...
Right.
She has some
I totally,
stake in the game here, but...
I totally want to give Ross points that at no point ever does he go, I might sue for custody. Custody. Because, I mean, I assume she had an affair with Susan.
Yeah. So.
She broke up in 1994. She's a homosexual.
Yeah. Because they don't get married till way later.
Yeah. I mean, so if he wanted to be a dick and sue for custody, he could have been a dick and sued for custody.
True. So they talk about names, Marlin and Minnie. Marlin reminds me of Finding Nemo. And then Ross goes, when you hear Minnie, you think mouse. Then they talk about Julia. Like Ross brings up Julia. But I think it was really weird because Julia is one of his girlfriends later. Julie.
Julia.
And then later he tells Rachel he has kids' names picked out. Remember when he's like, I think about these things.
Right.
And Emily is one of the names.
Right.
So I'm like, do you guys not know anybody else? It's like Emily and Julia.
So what I chalk this up to is, again, when I'm doing a little bit of writing, I do a tad of writing on the side, and I'm trying, like, I have names that just pop into my head all the time. And I always use them as placeholders because I always think of, these three names always pop into my head for men characters.
Okay.
So, again, they're writing so many characters so fast that, and again, it's 1994.
Plus, they didn't know how long it was going to be. And
so, but they already had a Paul.
Yeah.
Bruce Willis is Paul later.
That's true.
She worked with a Paula in the next episode. I mean, I think there's just certain names that, like, I'm trying to think of names, but, later in the writer's room, they probably like, we need a fucking baby name book. Now I just Google.
Right. So we go back to the dentist's office, Barry, Robbie, and Rachel. Barry comes back because he was called out because of somebody choking. And then she says, he looks great. And he says he went on his honeymoon.
Right. Honeymoons never work out the way they're supposed to on Friends.
Yeah. Nobody goes with who they intended to. And I like this line where he says, this may hurt. No, not you. Because he got plugs and lenses, hair plugs, and wears contact lenses. I think it's sad. He says he did those things for Mindy, but not for Rachel. Like, I think it's sad.
It is sad. And isn't she the one that doesn't like to stick her finger in the eye?
Yeah, right.
Maybe he actually didn't care.
Yeah, but it bothered her, so he never did it. Aw. And then you said something interesting. You were like, if they were not happy together, why were they going through the motions? Like, who were they going through the motions for?
Well, I think a lot of people kind of do that.
Yeah.
Like, again, I don't know anybody specifically, but I would assume there's probably some people who get engaged and then they're kind of like, do I really want to marry this person? But we're scheduling Pam and Roy.
Yeah.
In the office. Yeah, like
we're already here.
We're doing
being
it
together for
we're
so long.
Setting it up.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, you're married, and then you're I mean, sadly, that probably happens more often than you'd want it to.
For
but
sure. Yeah. I know people have money on us. I should have taken that bet. I would have taken it to Vegas, man. Like, some people had 5 years. It's what, 29? We're almost 30 years now. Well, married 30 years, but and then I do like that line where he goes, spit. She goes, what? He goes, me. Back to, so we keep cutting back and forth between the doctor's offices.
Right.
Back with Carol, Ross, and Suzanne. And then he goes, Helen Geller.
Helen Geller. That's just mean. No, Helen
Willick Bunch. And then he was like, that's, if I had my way, or you just want your way.
Right.
And
my way?
Yeah.
No, like, in no way is this ever anybody's.
Yeah. Ideal way to have a baby. And then Dr. Oberman enters and asks if they any nausea, and I like how all three of them go, oh, yeah, just a little bit. Which is like, well, I was really only asking the mother, but... And then Ross says, he's fed up. He can't deal with it. He's going to go. And then he hears the heartbeat of the baby, or the sonogram.
Right.
And they all three hold hands. So, again, now I've never live watched a sonogram because I didn't give birth. But that sonogram baby looks fucking huge.
Right.
I'm like, Jesus. She's not even showing. There's not even a lump on her stomach. And that baby is like the size of a cantaloupe.
Right. And again, that's a TV thing. I'm sure it's a TV thing because...
Otherwise, you wouldn't see it.
Yeah. They needed to find a picture that everybody could see the baby in it because...
Yeah.
Sonograms are notorious. They even bring it up in later episodes.
Right. Where
They're
Rachel
notoriously hard to see the baby in.
Right. So then the episode goes back to the tag or the stinger. Mm-hmm. Monica's apartment. All 6 friends are there. They're watching the sonogram. And they all like, you like Chandler's line.
Right.
I think it's about to
attack the Enterprise.
And then Phoebe goes, if you relax your eyes and tilt your head, it looks like an old potato.
Well, don't do that.
Like, don't call my kid a potato. And then Monica wells up. I think that's funny.
And I said, so does Joe.
Yeah, it makes me cry.
As soon as somebody cries, you cry. That's just how it is. You're crying right now.
I am.
You can't even see her.
Nope. But I like when Ross steps away to talk to Monica. You can see Chandler and Joey just like lean in and stare at the sonogram like they don't know what else to do in that scene. But it's cute. And then Rachel calls Mindy.
Right.
And then she hangs up and says, after she says, I hope he gets his old hair and your old nose. So my question is, in this reality, does she still ask Rachel to be her bridesmaid after she called her and said that? Or is that a continuity error? Is it such a weird friendship?
Best case scenario.
Yeah.
She didn't even hear what she said.
Oh.
She was like, wait, what? She said something and then she hung up.
Okay.
Other than that, I could just, like, I don't know why she asked her to be in the wedding anyway.
Yeah.
I think it's weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that it's probably their relationship is all.
Well, and we can talk about this when we get to it, but when Jennifer Grey is playing Mindy and asks her to be her maid of honor, I think it's more sincere, like, you're my oldest friend, blah, blah, blah. But then when they actually go to the wedding, Mindy and Barry, and it's a different Mindy, I think it's more of a stick the knife in and twist it type of. But that's just my opinion.
Right. Yeah,
so then,
I don't know. I really don't have a.
Then the episode ends.
And it's over.
It's over, yeah.
Episode 2.
Episode 2.
Why are you so tanned?
I went to Aruba.
Oh no. You went on our honeymoon alone?
No. I went with this may hurt. No. I went with Mindy.
Mindy? My maid of honor. Mindy.
Yeah, we're kind of a thing now. All right. So what did you learn from this episode, Adam?
Well, I learned again, I'm taking lessons from the writers, and I think that, after the first pilot and now following up with the storylines of Ross and Rachel, I think that they kind of said, these are going to be non-traditional storylines.
Yeah.
I know Friends takes heat for having the 6 white leads and having storylines that are, on the entitled side of the spectrum. But they were trying to address things that weren't necessarily being addressed on television at that time.
Yeah.
They're definitely, and again, having Ross, he's having trouble, but he's also being understanding of what Carol's going through.
Yeah.
I think is a big,
like, he's sad for himself,
right?
But he's also like, I don't want her to be miserable and alone.
Right.
I'm glad she's with Susan and is having this baby. So.
Right.
I mean, I agree. I think they're going to be storylines that are different. That's why I like it. It's not the same sitcom formula. It's not just misunderstandings, which you said are 99.9% of sitcoms. And
sitcoms are a lot of families.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons why Friends is so popular. It's kind of like Seinfeld. It's easier to have weirder storylines and friend groups than constantly having to write for a teenager and a kid and
And I like how they set up that Ross and Monica's parents are not the same parents, and that
I love that
they set up that Ross is always going to have, like, there's always going to be something with him.
Right.
He's always going to be the downer. He's always going to have problems. I mean, think of the first 3 episodes.
Right.
It's like, hi.
Right. Ross is the dog that the writers like to kick.
Yeah. It's like, your life sucks, man. So, what themes did we explore in this episode, Adam?
Non-traditional families, non-traditional roles for men. Mm-hmm. Don't want to get off on political tangents, but Ross and Chandler are both non-traditional guy characters who, are on the nerdier side, or not the
sports and
right. I was reading the last thing you had. Another theme is when you break it off with someone, they have every right to go to Barbados or Aruba with your best friend.
Yeah.
Once you break it off with somebody, you're breaking off. I mean, that's...
Uh-oh. Are you setting up the were they on the break?
No.
I mean, like, you didn't marry me, so I can do whatever I want.
Right. I mean... But when you make those choices, people are going to make their choices then. And that's what happens. You don't get to control what Barry does after you break up with him, All
right, final episode thoughts.
So I like the weirdness of this episode. I really feel like Anita Barone, who played Carol, doesn't as strongly connect with the character as Jane Sibbett does later. Mm-hmm. No offense to Anita, but again, it's fun. There's a lot of weird interactions, a lot of weird stuff with the parents. Overall, probably not one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah,
I mean, it's number 2.
Right.
It's the level's gonna drop. Again, you can't keep that pilot energy constantly. So I was glad it kind of revved down a little bit.
Yeah.
And the characters got to interact with each other a little bit more. But
so, it's so funny. I think it's when I found out that Anita was on the Jeff Foxworthy show, I was like, oh yeah, her hair looks like it should be on that show. So, because when the other Carol comes, I'm like, they look better suited together. I don't know why, but I'm glad they kept Susan. So I'm glad they kept the lady who played Susan and
Jessica Hetched.
Yeah, I like her.
I don't know if that's the exact pronunciation, but I love her. Whenever she pops up, she's always fun.
She's funny. I think it's complicated and fun and different, and the stories are unique, and it's not always just a misunderstanding, because that's like I get so frustrated when I'm like, if they would just talk to each other,
Right.
they would know.
Well, like
you're
a
wasting time.
A lot of rom-coms have
Yeah.
those plot lines that
Yeah.
you're just, if you guys would just have a conversation,
Right.
you'd work this out.
So sweater vest tracker, we had one in the cold open, so that's the only one. He only
Episode
had one.
total of 1.
One, so three so far.
3 overall for the second episode.
All right. That's, yeah. He had some ugly effing shirts on this week.
Oh, my
Oh, God.
That, that one shirt had so much material on the front. I was like, that would be so heavy.
Right. So next week, Chandler and Phoebe get to do more.
Yes.
And then it's called The One with the Thumb.
The one with the thumb.
Yeah, so.
I wonder what that's in reference to.
Oh, I don't know. So thanks for listening, and
everybody.
don't forget to email us questions at themaladjustedmisfits@gmail.com. At least she had a chance to leave a man at the altar.